Hey, what's up, guys? Just leaving Saints practice. It is Wednesday and just heading out of here, leaving the facility. And you're watching The Dot presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. The big story up here today, obviously, is all eyes on the quarterback battle. And Darren Rizzi said today after practice they have not yet decided who is going to start this week. They let both players get reps in practice today between Haener and Spencer Rattler, and they're going to make a decision a little bit later on this week. So we'll see who that's going to end up being. You know, I think there's two schools of thought here. You can go to Rattler and kind of start looking to see if there's maybe something more there for next year, or you go to Haener, who might give you a slightly better chance to win right now. We'll see which direction they go. I think they're going to probably lean towards that winning element, but I think it's going to be tough for either one of those guys. But I'm not going to go too deep into that one. We talked about it on today's podcast, so check out that episode if you are a member of NewOrleans.Football. That went out today at like 10 o'clock or whatever. Everybody else will get the episode a little bit later today, so check it out on there. We kind of talk about the pros and cons of those two guys, but I do think that personally, if you're asking me to handicap it right now, I think it probably leans a little bit towards Haener, but I could see it going. Either direction. So they'll let both guys get reps today. They'll do that again tomorrow, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. The other thing today, Alvin Kamara was not present at practice. Not a big deal. He's just dealing with a little bit of illness. He's still doing all his stuff to prepare for the game and all that stuff. So I don't think that's really anything to worry about. And obviously, that was a little bit of one of the moments where you're like, oh shit! Like when you walk out there and you see he's not out there, because that's the offense right now. Like Alvin is pretty much like the entirety of the offense, because if you take him out, I don't know how they're moving the ball at all. The spread's already, I think, 7 points, and if you take him out of the mix, like, it's cooked. There is no way to win a game without Alvin Kamara on the field for the Saints. So that's a major thing if he wasn't going to be able to play, but there's no concern about that right now. He's going to be able to play this weekend. He'll be out there. He'll be good to go, and they're going to have to try to get that run game going. Washington isn't a great team at run defense, so that is something that could set up decently for the Saints, but the Giants aren't a good team at run defense either, and they weren't able to move the ball it all last week. And I think if you're game planning for this team right now, I mean, all you're really trying to do is load the box. But the thing is the Saints do so much out of heavy personnel, 12 personnel, 21 personnel, 22, all that stuff. Teams are already kind of able to load the box anyhow, and it's going to be tough to like set up advantages off of that playing against a team that has a player like Marshon Lattimore, because you drop him on Valdez-Scantling and you play the run, and what do you really do from there? How do you stop this team from how do you move the ball if you're the Saints, if a team approaches you in that capacity? So I am a little bit worried about that, and I am waiting for a team to just kind of like completely sell out on those two missions, and we haven't quite seen it to that extent yet. But Lattimore is somebody that can stick with the player, and if you take that guy away and you sell out to stop the run game with Alvin and now Kendre, I mean, who are you moving the ball with? Is it Kevin Austin? Pettis? Like, I don't like those matchups. Are you leaning on the tight ends? I think both those guys have done a pretty good job, and I think there's even an argument to throwing the ball to Foster Moreau a little bit more than you have to this point. But a team's going to figure that out at some point. I mean, there's 4 games to go. I mean, they already know, but I'm waiting to see somebody sell out for it, and I wonder if it is going to be Washington, because they do have the players for it, and if you could commit a little bit more to stopping the run, if you are Washington, I think it would make a whole lot of sense. So that's going to be something else too. Seeing Lattimore come back his first game for them against the Saints in his old stadium. I think we're going to see fully motivated Marshon Lattimore. I don't know if it's necessarily like bad blood, but it's not good. It's not a good situation. There was a lot of tension there for a lot of years, and especially the last couple. Well, not this year, the two before this year. A lot of tension behind the scenes. I thought that thing was going to come to a head a few times, and I don't think Marshawn is the type of dude probably to hold on to a lot of that. And I think the driving force in that rift is now out of the building. But I'm sure he feels a little something. I'm sure he feels a little. You have to, just even as a competitor. Like, this is a team that was willing to get rid of you, even if there's nothing else on it. And there is a little spice on it. But even if there wasn't, I think that's more than enough to come out here and try to prove a point. And I don't know if Marshawn really needs to prove any points or prove anything to anyone. Like, he's stamped as one of the best in the league, and he's going to stay that. But I'm sure coming back here, he's going to want to make some plays. So I think that's going to be kind of fun to see overall. And then, you're going against Hainer Rattler. He'll probably have a couple opportunities to try to get the ball. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this game. I think obviously they're going to be trying to lean on that run game extremely, extremely heavily. And then they're going to try to figure it out, how to move the ball off of that. I was kind of surprised. I was doing a study yesterday, and I was a little bit surprised to see that the Saints have only used play action on 24% of their passing attempts overall this season. And, like, for the sake of comparison, Detroit's at 40%. So 24% isn't a big number. Middle of the league average amount. And the weird thing is that Derek Carr is second in the league in play action passer rating, and you kind of look at that and you wonder why aren't they leaning into this a little bit more, especially with the way they like to play the game. But I say that to say, you would think this would be a game where you try to run and you try to do a lot of play action off of it and try to set it up and minimize some of that stuff for the young quarterback. But even when it was Rattler, it only went up to 26%. So I don't know that we're going to see a drastic shift in the approach to the game based on personnel at who's available, but it would make some sense to try to do some different stuff and try to take some pressure off of him and maybe lean into that. I think your plan has to be almost entirely run based, and you got to work off that. And we're going to see how it looks. If it is Hainer, and I kind of hope it is, just in the sense that I want to see him get a game to start so that we really know what he is and what he's about. Because I don't know that we really know that. We've seen him come in spot duty, and I haven't been blown away by that. But I don't think it's the same as starting. Like, if you go into a game prepared to start, I think that the approach is completely different. And you kind of build off of that, and I think it allows you to approach it with a different mindset. Like, you're ready. Like, you're going in, you're ready. You aren't guessing at anything. You kind of know exactly what you got to do and all that stuff, and you can go out there in the right headspace, and it isn't kind of just like getting thrown in and be like, well, here we go. It's kind of like knowing there's a fire versus being like sitting in the firehouse and all of a sudden the alarm goes off and you have to react. Like, I think there's probably a difference if you're walking into one versus like having to catch up to one, and you can maybe control that emotion a little bit more. And I think we'll see that with Hainer maybe this week. But I think it's a hard job for either one of them, whoever it is. I think it's a really hard job this week, and it's going to be tough to win. You don't have any receivers. You don't have Taysom. Like, that's tough. It's an unfair situation for anybody. So we'll see how that one kind of plays out. What else happened today? I thought it was kind of interesting. Rizzy said this was the best game of Chase Young's Saints tenure. I thought that was kind of interesting to hear him say that. We'll see. Chase kind of gets that revenge game this week, so that'll be interesting. Ridgeway, too, gets to go against the Commanders. Jaden obviously coming back to Louisiana, going to be able to show what he can do on that big stage in the Superdome. That's going to be interesting to see. For Rizzi, I think this is a game that if you can find a way to win it with the backup quarterback, you're probably the head coach. Like, that's a huge thing to be able to overcome. I think it'd be asking a whole lot of him to kind of overcome that, but that would be, something to kind of watch. Alvin continues his pursuit of the 1,000-yard season. Not getting a ton of yards last week, I think, makes it tough to get to that 2,000-yard season overall, but that's still within reach. So if he can get a big game in one of these next 4, maybe that's back in play, but I think it's going to be tough to get there. But that's kind of an interesting thing to watch for. Being able to see what Valdez-Scantling can keep doing with a different quarterback, that's something to kind of keep an eye on. But kind of the wind taken out of the sails a little bit with no car. I mean, it kind of makes it a little bit harder to see this one as a big game or anything like that. It's just kind of gotten a lot smaller. But we'll see what they can do. Big implications on the draft status. I kind of broke down where it might be possible for them to pick today on the website, NewOrleans.Football. Check that out. There's a little mock draft in there too. It's pretty much mock draft season, especially if they lose this game. I might be shifting fully into that. And look, like I said on the last one, man, if you guys are enjoying these videos and any of the stuff we're doing, please sign up for the site. We need you guys. We need your support. We need you guys to keep supporting it and showing love and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that's it for today's ride, man. Saints at the Commanders this weekend. We got the podcast going out a little bit later today, so be on the lookout for that. Stories on the website.